SportsCast with Jeremy Buckelew is proud to announce we are now officially powered by TEC. If their fiber optic internet service can handle everything we throw at it here in the studio, from videos to calls and live streams, you better believe they can handle your home or business too. If speed, stability, and service is important to you, you can count on TEC. Thanks, TEC. Now let's get to the show. In a world that moves way too fast, there's one place that feels like home. Tater's Place in Paris, Tennessee. Where the sizzle of a smash burger meets the sound of laughter, and every plate tells a story. Bring the family, make memories, and taste the love in every bite. Live music, real people, and unforgettable food. That's Tater's Place, 3615 Highway 79 North. Find the flavor you've been missing at Tater's Place. Come and feel what you've been hungry for.
Are you looking for a fence that gives you peace of mind? At All Star Fence Company, we don't just build fences, we build confidence. Whether it's keeping your family safe, protecting your property, or simply adding curb appeal, All Star delivers unmatched quality, dependable service, and lasting results. Locally owned and trusted across West Tennessee, Kentucky, and beyond, we're the name homeowners count on for reliability and strength since 1971. All Star Fence Company, your first line of defense and your best choice for peace of mind. Visit allstarfenceandsupply.com today.
Hey, good evening and happy Sunday night to you. Welcome to another episode of SportsCast. I'm your host, Jeremy Buckelew, coming to you live from the Brewer Street Mafia Studios again. I got a great show lined up for you tonight. Some great guests on. Going to talk some Inman football. But first, I do want to say thank you to all of our sponsors who help bring you SportsCast each and every week. I want to say thank you to TEC, as it said on the spot coming on, that our whole studio is outfitted now by TEC fiber optic internet. And so we're throwing all kinds of stuff at it, and it has not missed a beat. And so if it can handle everything we've got, then certainly it can handle what you've got going on at home. And so thank you for coming on board with us, and thanks to TEC and those guys for getting us set up here in the studio. I also want to say thanks to Tater's out on the Lake Highway. If you're hungry, go out there and grab you a bite to eat. But remember, they've also got the bike shop, and so you got a motorcycle, needs some work on it, take it out there to Tater's while they're working on the bike. Get you a smash burger and some fried pickles and fries and onion rings and all the other good stuff that they have to offer out at Tater's. And also want to say thank you to All Star Fence Company and to Jeff Archie and his crew for being a sponsor here on the show. Anything fence related you need, they can take care of you. Thanks to Patriot Plumbing, Shelter Insurance, Eaton Construction, and Tennessee Real Estate as well. Appreciate them, because without our sponsors, we can't bring you the show each and every week. And so glad that they are on board with us and can bring you an episode every Sunday night. As I said, tonight, going to talk some Inman Bulldog football. Pleased to be joined by several guys here tonight, but I'm going to introduce the head coach, man in charge, Coach Barry Baker of the Inman Bulldogs. Welcome, Coach. Glad to have you in the studio tonight, and I'm going to let you go around the table and introduce who else you brought with us, but glad you're here.
Glad to be on the show. Thanks for inviting us. To my right here is Coach Sam Patterson. He coaches inside linebackers for us and coaches the fullbacks, also runs the defense. Across over here is Coach Brad Chappell. He's a wide receiver and defensive back coach. And right across from me is Coach Brush, who's a offensive line coach and helps out with the D-line. And two guys that are not here, Coach Caleb Van Dyke's coaching outside backers and tailbacks for us, and then Coach Chuck Adams, longtime Henry County football coach. Got him back in the deal this year, and he's having a good time. He's coaching the D-line and helping Coach Brush out with O-line. So,
is he bringing that old Henry County mentality of hard knock football back to the Inman Bulldogs? I know y'all have been there and had that all along, but Coach Adams he's with that old school kind of mindset when it comes to football coaching, I'm sure.
He's bringing it back like it used to be.
Good deal.
That's what I want.
Guys, as we start each and every week, the best thing I've seen this week, I'll go first, give you time to think about what yours is, but I am going to go with the Henry County Junior Livestock Sale out at the fairgrounds this Thursday night. It was the first time in a while that I've gotten to go out there and see that. It was fun to go out and see the kids and all the work that they've put in with their animals and country hams and all that kind of stuff. I think the country ham sale was yesterday morning, but congratulations to another very successful fair, I think, this week. A grand total of $524,229 raised for those young kids and the work that they put in to getting to that point. But again, just a lot of fun to be out at the fairgrounds Thursday night for the sale, and best thing I've seen this week. Congratulations to all those kids. And so, Coach Baker, how about you? Best thing you've seen this week?
Well, after the last couple of weeks, the best thing I seen was a text message from Coach Jerry Williams telling me we're still playing on Tuesday night. So, as of right now, the game is still on. So
we'll talk about that in a bit, but it's been an issue for you guys. I know. We'll get to that here in a minute. But Sam, how about you?
Well, we've been preparing pretty good while for this game here, and the best thing I've seen, I think, is just the level of focus that our kids have been able to maintain in this time of kind of uncertainty, knowing whether or not we're going to play week to week.
Sure.
But just seeing them bring that level of maturity is really something that I've been proud of this group, and excited to see where they can take it from here.
Very nice. Brad, how about you?
Best thing I've seen this week in sports is local West Tennessee product. Ty Simpson was named the starter at University of Alabama.
Yeah, that's impressive. Listen, my wife watches this show. I kind of mentioned it today. I hadn't really told her yet, but Henry County plays on Thursday night this week, and then Mace plays at Westview on Friday night. I may take a trip to Martin on Friday night to watch Graham Simpson, but very cool to see Ty Simpson, West Tennessee kid, named as the starting quarterback for the University of Alabama. No matter how much you hate the University of Alabama, it is good to see local kids making big strides and doing big things.
Which Chappell and
Roll Tide.
Yeah, Chappell and his family are all.
Get out of my studio.
Yeah, they're all Tide fans. So there you go. This one happened to me this week personally, and I just want to share a quick story from my job. As part of my job, I get to go to all the schools, and usually when I dress up for work, I wear a bow tie. But one day I happened to be just a regular long tie, and I happened to be when pre-K where Corden Heights kid comes up to me and he says, "Why you got that scarf on your shirt?" And I thought, man, that just made my day.
Yeah, that's fun. You got a good fashion sense. Like every time I've seen you out and about, you got the bow tie, and I've tried to pull one off a couple times, and I can't do it anywhere close to what you do. So, I'm just saying that it's a good look, and it works well for you.
Well, thank you.
Guys, Coach Baker, you were talking about the fact that, glad to just confirm the game this week. Of course, y'all play, is it Tuesday night? Or Thursday? Okay, Tuesday night on the road this week.
Yep, at Crockett County.
All right. But y'all, we were talking about it on air and talk about it as much as you want or not at all, but just had some problems scheduling, or not scheduling, but keeping commitments. And so there's going to be 6 Inman games this year is what you got so far.
Game, depending on how the Martin game goes, that's going to determine if we have another home game, for the playoffs.
Sure.
And as of right now, as long as if we can put ourselves in the driver's seat there, then all 3 playoff games would be held at Inman, as long as we kept winning. So, or at Barton Field. So,
tell us about your team. What are you excited about? And just kind of go around the table. the head coach, what do you see overall that makes you happy? And then each of you guys just kind of chime in with what you're looking forward to this year with your squad, and who's some names that we'll probably be reading about, hearing about, talking about as the season progresses.
Well, each year, each team's different. This year, we're not up front. We're not as big as we were last year. I think I heard it several times last year. It's the biggest middle school team I've ever seen. This year, we're not as big, but we are quicker. We're 2 steps faster probably at every position across the board on the O-line and D-line. Still want to be the most physical team on the field. For the first time in my coaching career, I've got a kid that can line up and start at fullback, start at tight end, and start at receiver and be one of the best ones at each one of those positions there. So we're looking to do a lot of things with him. Always try to tailor my offense around, my talent, and it's been a little different this year.
Sure.
With him. We're able to spread it out a little bit more and do some stuff like that. Overall, offensively, we're still going to run power, counter, and outside zone, throw the boot, and we're going to do what we do. Defensively, I'll let Coach Patterson talk about that a little bit because that's his baby. Still, our base 3-4 defense, try to do everything like the high school does. We've got some really good outside linebackers. We've got some inside linebackers that are physical. D-line wise, we're not, like I said, we're 2 steps quicker off the ball.
Sure.
And I think that's going to help us out. In the defensive backfield, we've got some athletes back there this year that's got some high football IQs, and that's different than last year. Had really good athletes back there last year, but certain situations you would have to walk them through every single thing. And this year, it's like, I don't know if it's because their families all play at the high school. Sure. And they're involved in it more, and they're just it's just a different team this year.
Yeah.
So
looking forward to it. Sam, talk about your defense there.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a lot of success last year. Had a really great group of kids, but this year, brought back a lot of returning talent. A lot of kids who started for me last year are coming back, and just getting to see that level of physicality they can bring with knowing the system for being 2-year players. But our goal every week is to come out and be physical, like Coach Baker said, and stop the run. And I think the winning equation to win a football game is being able to run the ball, stop the run, and control the clock. I mean, that's what you want to do, and I think we certainly got the kids to do it.
Awesome. Coach Chappell?
Yeah, I made the observation actually both these guys the other day that, this is year 2 of us being together as a staff. And I remember years ago when I was a head coach, my first year inheriting a group of kids that had not been in, used to how I do things.
Sure.
The way I wanted to do things, they not that they didn't work hard and try, but the second year is when I saw a real uptick in the way things went, and I've noticed that this year with our kids. We've got some really hard-working kids. I would say, too, that maybe we're not as big or quite as raw athletic as last year, but I like our team. I mean, they work hard. The other day, in that football IQ, to talk about what Sam talked about, we threw in banjo the other day on the fly, which is a defensive coverage that not a lot of middle schools are able to run. And, it took them about 3 plays, and they were doing it on their own.
Good.
It's a switch in man coverage, and, I still want to see it some more. But for them to pull it off in a few plays without me having to say anything, I mean, that's high level.
Yeah. Coach Brush?
Well, one of the things that, of course, I worked with Coach Markham and Stephen Harrison for 26 years, and we would run 26, 27, 20, we would run a whole. And last year with our first year with Coach Baker, he was having to draw up the play, okay, block it this way, block it, and draw it 3 or 4 times for me to understand. The second year, now I've got a deeper understanding of everything, and that's, translated to the kids. I think we're further along now than almost at any point in the season last year. Just because of our understanding of the offense and blocking schemes and all of these things. So,
well, Coach Baker, you said something that I want to talk about, and you referenced, you're running a defense like the high school does. I first met you when we were doing statistics for Henry County, and you would be up in the box with us calling plays, or at least on the headset up there with us. And so you're no stranger to Henry County athletics. Second year coach at Inman as the head coach, but on our graphic we talked about how Inman is just this pipeline to Henry County. And so how much of Henry County's system, and again, talk about it as little or as much as you want, but how much of the Henry County system do you try to utilize so that these kids who are playing for you now, when they do get up to the high school, they're up to speed and ready to implement that stuff?
Well, basically all of it. I guess I'm one of the lucky ones. Whenever I was calling plays at the high school, we revamped, how we called the offensive plays. Yeah. But and whenever Coach Counts, give me the job to, to call those plays on Friday nights, I had to make it my own. And sure. Start from about 2015, 2016. We revamped this, and we're using the same exact verbiage at Inman that we did at Henry County. And Coach Anderson, he's making it his own, but he's still following that same verbiage, and it makes it easy. I remember Coach Hudson saying back in this early summer, he said, "Man, these kids coming in and they know what 4-2 is. They know what 7-2 is. We ain't got to sit there and walk them through it." He said it speeds the county kids up. That's not in the same system. The learning curve just gets shorter, and it's been great so far. Good. I mean, it's heard everything positive. Now we're not going to do everything that they do up there. And
sure.
Coach Anderson's fixing to, tailor that thing to his talent and what he does better. But just hearing the same rhythm of play call, helps out.
Right.
So.
This is a safe area in here, and so one of the things I always admired about Coach Baker up on the roof was it never really got excited about, it was calm, cool, and collected no matter what was going on. And so is that the Barry Baker y'all see on the sidelines as the head coach at Inman, or is there a little more excitement to him nowadays that he's the man wearing the big hat?
Game day, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times you got to get on folks, and he does a good job with doing that. But, I've always been, and I admire this about Barry on game night, it was explained to me a long time ago by one of my mentors. He said the last thing a player wants to look at or needs to see on the sideline is some raving lunatic going nuts and going
right.
crazy. I mean, because that's not going to get them going back to what they need to do. Not that they may not need a kick in the pants. I'm not talking about that.
Sure.
I'm talking about you want to see somebody that, all right, well, this is what they're doing. This is what we need to do next. And lay out a plan. And Barry does that every game night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree that when things aren't going as well, hey, we're going to try this, we're going to do this, but the week of preparation's a little different story.
I meant to go up to the gym this week and count the banners in the rafters up there, because Joel, you said you've been a part of the Inman program for 26 years. You said
from the original Inman team. We started with a 7th grade team, and then we graduated to an 8th grade team our second year, and so
we have a tradition, even at middle school, of being one of the better programs around. And Coach can't say it. I think that's part of the problem with why we have so much trouble scheduling folks, is because nobody wants to sign up for a butt whooping. But those banners, a lot of area championships, a lot of state appearances, or it's the West Tennessee championships and all that. How many of those are hanging up there? Do you know off the top of your head?
Well, as far as sectionals, I can't remember, but we are 10-time. I mean, what you can consider a middle school champion, a West Tennessee champion.
Yeah.
NBA's bragging because they've won 3, and I'm like going, we won 10 of them.
Yeah.
So
okay, Sam, you came up through that program.
That's right.
Right, and now you're getting to coach there. Talk about your playing days at Inman and how that has translated to being on the sideline, and the lessons you learned as a player that now as a coach you can utilize and pass on to the kids that you're working with.
Absolutely. I played for what many would consider one of the greatest coaches in area history, and Bob Markham, and got to play for Coach Brush, and I played for Coach Baker at the high school, and just getting to come up through that system and graduate, and my 8th grade year we hung 2 banners in the rafters, and coming up through the high school, and football is Henry County. We're built around football. Just coming through there and getting to come back and give back to this community that's given me so much as a kid and as a young adult, it's just been a really cool experience. And I've had a lot of great mentors through the way, and I'm just really happy to come back and be home.
Yeah. Coach Baker, of course, talked about you had worked with the high school. Is there anything that surprises you about working with the middle schoolers versus the high schoolers that I don't want to say you enjoy more, but you know what I mean? Because I'm going to ask Brad the same thing, because he's been at the college level, he's been at high school, I'm sure. And what differences? Yeah, and some of the things you enjoy about it, and some of the things like, gosh, I wish that there were times where this was different. But
it's still, at the end of the day, it's still football.
Yeah.
I coach the kids there just like I did when I was at the high school. Got to be a little bit more patient with them. I think, being a middle school principal for 3 years, that kind of helped me out on
Build
that.
your patience a little bit.
That settled me down some. I was always pretty intense, during game week, game day, try to settle down, just try to keep my mind clear. These middle school kids, they're fun. They'll run through a brick wall for you. They want to please you. It's different. The IQ level is just lower, but I mean they give it all they got. They want to win just like the high school kids do, and they show up every day. And we've got a lot of good parents, because high school kids can drive themselves, or they can get a ride with a buddy. These parents, they've got to bring them up there, drop them off, pick them up, do all this throughout the summer. They're picking them up in the afternoons. We're changing practice times. Like tomorrow we're getting down to 4:30. I've got parents that work till 5.
Right.
So we'll sit around, and whether they get picked up, not a big deal. I mean, other than that, but it's still the same. It's X's and O's. It's the same thing.
Brad?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's still, you're forming relationships with kids, and one thing that somebody asked me this question actually this weekend is, what's the big difference between high school older kids and younger kids? I think one of the biggest differences is they still think we know everything. Coaching at the high school level and being involved with college athletes, they think they know everything.
Right.
So these kids still think we know everything, and most of the time we can fool them that we do, and keep them going in the right direction. But I also saw a thing. I think it was Andy Reid. He had a card behind his desk that "Don't judge." And somebody asked him about it and said, "What's that mean?" He said, "Well, I need to meet the players where they're at." And I don't know if you saw, but it got a lot of traction on the internet this week. Brent Dearman posted
I did.
a thing about, and man, our kids are dealing with stuff like that
Sure.
too all the time. So we have to keep that in mind, and we sometimes we may be the bright light in their day.
Yeah.
So that's important, and remembering that card, don't judge. Like they may be dealing with stuff that we don't know.
Sure.
Y'all
had a joint practice a couple weeks ago with the Henry County squad, the middle school squad, and I was stalking that out because I knew that now's a good time to get Coach Baker to be on the show. And so that's when I asked you about coming on, and I appreciate you being just right on the spot. Yeah, we'll do it, and let's do it this date. And but you were talking to both squads at the end of the practice, and I didn't hear everything, but it was, from what I did hear, it was to the effect basically of, we're getting y'all ready now for when y'all are all one unit up at Henry County. And I think that's been the message for years and years and years. I know when Cade played, it was the same thing after the Henry County game. Coach Markham would always give that speech at the end of the game, and Coach Bona about how, y'all may be competing out here right now, but our goal is to get every one of you ready to go play at the next level. Is it different having, the city kids and the county kids, they know each other.
A lot of them do, yes.
They've played baseball together. They've probably played other sports together, Caps basketball, whatever. It's a little bit of a rivalry, but like you said, at the end of the day, we want all of these kids to be successful and go on and do great things at Henry County.
Absolutely. that's, last year when we played them, I asked Coach Counts to come up and talk to him, and he did, and it was the same speech. Hey guys, you battled it out here tonight, but once now that this is over, the next time you see each other on the field, you can be teammates.
Right.
And it's this county's special, with the way football's set up. Yeah, you've got the city system, and then you've got the county system. Man, when those kids come together, it's special.
Yeah.
And the way they've got Grove set up, it's their own team there and all that stuff. So a lot of kids get a lot of chance to get playing time and reps and get better that year. So,
well, and it's just so important because of again, talk about that pipeline to Henry County, and I think that's what sets. And you've been there again, so I'm asking you specifically, but I mean that's really what sets Henry County apart from the other schools that will play during the season. Is a lot of these kids have been playing together for a long time. And so they know each other. It's not like they're getting to high school and having to learn each other.
Right.
They've been playing together since some of them Pop Warner, then at Inman or the county, then at Grove, and now Henry County. And you just don't see that at other places because, I guess one of the benefits of being a 5A school with the only high school in Henry County. But the places we play don't get to enjoy that kind of success because of how it's just ingrained at them at such an early age for them.
Yep, it's split up. There's a few schools in the state, especially West Tennessee, that's like that, but that's rare. Crockett County's one. Yeah. Haywood County's one. We are. Hardin County, I think. But that's about it. Everybody like, Dyer County, Dyersburg, those kids are split.
Yeah.
So, you got kids that play at Three Oaks, and you got kids that play at Northview, and then, some of those kids are fixing to go to Dyersburg, some's going to Dyer County, and, it's, they're split up, so they're never all combined. That's the one good thing here is at the end of the day, they're all fixing to end up at Henry County.
Sure.
Unless they move or transfer or something, but I mean, that's the goal, and, it's just grow them as much as we can when they get up there, try to get that base level as high as possible, and let them grow from there.
What are some kids that you're excited about? Because I know for like Aiden Spellings is the quarterback at Henry County. Is Riker going to be the quarterback for Inman? Who are some of the kids that y'all have coming up that are going to contribute to this team? And y'all played your jamboree a couple of weeks ago, right? Against Huntington, I believe. Mm-hmm. We got some photos of that. But from my understanding, successful outing. Looked, I don't know, are coaches ever really satisfied with how they look? No. I didn't think that you were. No. But from talking to parents and other folks, said Inman looks pretty good. Ended up winning that game by a couple touchdowns, I think, or so, right? But
had a bad first off. Had a great first defensive series, and the way that was set up, we kind of got shafted on a little bit. I think their first play from scrimmage, we had a 9-yard loss on them, and they couldn't back it up because it would have put us in other teams' huddle. And then they got a holding call, so it was second 10 instead of second 18 or 19, and then they got a holding call. Well, they couldn't back it up to make it third and 25 or whatever, and then they ended up converting the first down right there on about a 15-yard pass when it should have been about 4th and 30. So, but other than that,
didn't bother you any, did it?
A little bit, but it was all good. Hey, it was nice to watch them battle it out.
Yeah.
They got it figured out, and they had a play here and there, and defense they bent but didn't break on that first drive, and offense gets out there, and we have 2 snaps sail over the quarterback's head, and we're 3 and out, and the defense is right back out there, and then we started rolling from there.
Yeah.
So
y'all play in basically it's the equivalent of the TSSAA. It's just the middle school region, the TMSAA or TMS whatever it is. I can't think of the acronym. But so, what are some restrictions that y'all have? I know a couple years ago they started a blue and gray game, or is that what it's called? Like your spring game. Y'all are doing that now. But like, when can y'all start working with the team? How much during the summer are you allowed to do? When do you get to go full contact in practice? Same as high school. So like basically any summer work is just lifting, and they have to hone their skills if they choose to do so.
June, we'll bring them in 2 or 3 days a week during June, and then dead period hits, and then once dead period's over, it's
full speed ahead.
Full speed ahead. Rubber meets the road, and here we go.
Yeah. Talk about that spring game that y'all have implemented, because I know I haven't been able to get to one yet. I was hoping to get to the one this year, and then just wasn't able to. But How do y'all set that up? Is it first string, or is it first offense against first, or how do y'all break that down?
Just, you want to talk about that, Coach Brush?
We can. I mean, we started that a couple of years ago. I mean, because we don't always have a scrimmage outside.
I was going to say, I remember when, and I hate to always throw it back to when my kids played, but that's what I know. And so I know, like, when Cade played, I think y'all would scrimmage McCracken County or some school from Kentucky or something would come down here, or we'd go up there and scrimmage. And
and so once we couldn't find a scrimmage, we started going, hey, let's just have an inter squad game, which was the last day of school, and bring the kids out from the school that are there. Our eighth graders are typically gone that day, so we bring 7th and 8th, and I think we've had the band play, and so it's just been a time and we would just, hey, here's a 1, here's a 1, you just divide them up
kind of
that
divide
way.
them that way.
Mm-hmm.
And play that out there on the practice field at the school, right? And so it just seems like it'd be a fun atmosphere for the kids to enjoy, fun atmosphere for maybe, not that all practices aren't fun, and I mean, it's business, but that's like a day more of just, hey, let's all enjoy it. And
well, we go back to when Barry was first hired. He had obligations to finish at Henry.
Sure.
So he said, y'all going to do this. Here's the stuff. Well, I was new with the offense, and I'm going, well, Cade Marshall hadn't been standing on the sideline. So I said, get out of here and start calling the plays. And so that's what I think makes our middle school really, really special, is that you got kids that just keep wanting to come back.
Yeah.
And when I had the opportunity to play for Brad's father at McKenzie High School, and McKenzie means a lot to me, but I don't remember as a high school kid going back to the middle school and saying, y'all need to. So it's neat when you see those kids on the sideline want to come back and be a part of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I've noticed about being at Inman. This is my second year at Inman, and there's a real community pride in that school. I've noticed it, and it's not just related to football. I see it most for football, but I see it in other things like, the musical performances and the choir performances and all the different things that the kids can do. I mean, the community supports this school.
Absolutely. And you talk about that community pride, but it's also an Inman pride with those kids. And we get tickled at home because, of course, like I said, Cade played for you guys, played for Coach Markham and Jalen and Joe and Dakari, and that was kind of his friend group, And then when they got to the high school, of course, they had all these county kids that were their friends, and Caleb Ferguson was one of them him and Cade became really good friends. Well, Cade has the videos from where y'all used to record the games, and somebody gave him all of the Inman games that he played in. And as a high schooler, and probably if they were at home today, I guarantee you he would get those Inman videos out and play them to show Caleb, for instance, hey, here's when Inman played Henry County, just to remember what we did. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, it's a community pride, absolutely. But those kids also have the pride of wearing that Bulldog label and that I on their chest, because I've seen it firsthand at our house that never goes away.
Well, Jeremy, that speaks a lot to the community, yes. But one particular individual to point out is Bob Stutzman.
Yeah.
He would film our games for free, and he would burn all these CDs, and he would be the one that passes those out. So, and of course, he just did it for the love of the game.
Sure.
Right? He didn't do it for any other reason. We weren't paying him.
Right. Well, of course, Bob's my neighbor, and so I talk to Bob a lot. But you're right; he loves the game, he loves the kids, and he loves contributing and being able to do that for them. And it's funny when you said the community pride and stuff. It goes, like Cade every time will get those videos out. Because I think he had like one really good hit on Caleb or something that game. He's like, hey, watch this, and we'll rewind it and stuff. So, guys, it's been 30 minutes. We need to take a break and hear from our sponsors. We're here with Coach Barry Baker, Sam Patterson, Brad Chappell, and Joey Brush from the Inman Bulldogs football program. We'll be back after these messages to talk some more about their season coming up and what's coming down the pipe for the Bulldogs. We'll be right back after these messages.
In a world that moves way too fast, there's one place that feels like home. Tater's Place in Paris, Tennessee, where the sizzle of a smash burger meets the sound of laughter, and every plate tells a story. Bring the family, make memories, and taste the love in every bite. Live music, real people, and unforgettable food. That's Tater's Place, 3615 Highway 79 North. Find the flavor you've been missing at Tater's Place. Come and feel what you've been hungry for.
Are you looking for a fence that gives you peace of mind? At All Star Fence Company, we don't just build fences, we build confidence. Whether it's keeping your family safe, protecting your property, or simply adding curb appeal, All Star delivers unmatched quality, dependable service, and lasting results. Locally owned and trusted across West Tennessee, Kentucky, and beyond, we're the name homeowners count on for reliability and strength since 1971. All Star Fence Company, your first line of defense and your best choice for peace of mind. Visit allstarfenceandsupply.com today.
Back here on SportsCast with Jeremy Buckelew. Do want to remind you about next week's show. We'll have Dr. Kyle Stevens and Bart Grossman on. Both of those guys were outstanding athletes in their playing days, and going to come on next week to talk about that, but also talk about the work that they are doing at Able Farms here in Henry County. I think Kyle is also bringing Luke and Brian on with him, and so we'll probably talk some Henry County basketball, but especially with Dr. Stevens. Had the nickname Money when he was a player because you could take it to the bank. If he got the ball, it was going in the hoop. And I think Bart, I know he played baseball in college. I think he played some minor leagues too, but we'll find out for sure. But Dr. Kyle Stevens and Bart Grossman on next week to talk about Able Farms and everything that they've got going on here with that new program in the county. Don't forget, tomorrow morning is a special Mike Weatherford show. He'll have Congressman David Kustoff in the studio to talk about everything that they want to talk about, whether it be taxes, Trump, Israel, all the scoop on what's going on in D.C. And so that is a special episode of the Mike Weatherford Show. That is tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. You can watch it on the Mike Weatherford Show Facebook page. So I know you want to check in and see that. Don't forget to go over to Mike's page, like it, follow him, subscribe, all that stuff. You can find him in all the same places you can find SportsCast with Jeremy Buckelew, which I encourage you to like, subscribe, and follow that as well, whether it be on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, the myparistv.com YouTube channel. Anything social media, you can find us. Just search us out. But give us a like and follow so that you'll stay up to date on everything going on, not only with SportsCast, but with the Mike Weatherford Show as well. Here with Coach Barry Baker and Sam Patterson, Brad Chappell, and Joey Brush talking some Inman football. And I told this story off the air. I want to tell it on air, a little comic relief for Coach Brush. But we bought our house is right across the street from Barton Field. And we bought it and moved in on a Saturday, and it just so happened to be a Saturday that the West Tennessee Championship was being played there at Barton Field, and Memphis was out doing a walkthrough, and they had gotten to Paris early and were out there walking through their game plan and program, and we were unloading boxes of stuff from the moving truck, and all of a sudden we have a huge magnolia tree in our backyard. And just all of a sudden, these Inman coaches start pouring out of that magnolia tree. Now, I think you and Coach Markham, I think.
And Stephen Harrison.
Stephen Harrison, I think, was Coach Kate in there with you guys?
Or Skylar Haley.
Okay, yeah. But just outscoping the Memphis team. So I told Coach Baker if he ever needs a perch to watch and scout a team that's in, he's more than welcome to use our magnolia tree because it worked pretty well.
Yeah, Jeremy, just don't trim the branches.
Okay.
Just leave those
I'm just going to leave it like it is. If y'all need it, it's there, okay? Just an open invitation to use the magnolia tree for scouting anytime you need to. Guys, we talk about your schedule coming up, and we've got it listed, but you're playing this week at Crockett County, which is Crockett County has a tradition of good football. You're probably right in that they have a similar mindset that Henry County does with Coach Kevin Ward, still over at Crockett County, right?
Yep,
and so the earlier you can start them, but then the lone home game until the playoffs will be the 26th against Jackson Northeast. Then you go to South Gibson, to Union City, go to Dixon, have an open week, and then go to Martin, right, on October 2nd, win that game, and then you have the 3 playoff games at Barton. But talk about your game coming up this week. What can you expect? I think you are going to talk maybe a little bit about your kids that you got contributing and whatnot, but just tell us a little bit about what we can expect this season from the Inman Bulldogs.
Well, we're going to play hard. We're going to be physical. That's one thing you can't expect.
Yep.
And, that's the goal going in each week, win the offensive line, defensive line battle, win the battle of the trenches and go from there. But we've got some really good players, and I mentioned a while ago, we had this last year, but, me and Coach Chappell and Coach Brush was talking the other day about, how many, not just 2-sport athletes, we've got several, that's playing 3 sports. I think we've got 3 players total that we're counting on that's going to put in a lot of, get a lot of reps on both sides of the ball that only play 1 sport. Everybody else plays multiple sports, and then there's several, I would say 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 of them that play 3 sports. Yeah. So that's kind of nice.
Sure.
They stay busy year round and stay in shape and all that stuff, and that's a lot of time spent parents carrying them here and there and yonder, and getting them where they need to get to. So, but it's paying off, I believe. Coach Brush, you want to talk about the offensive line, defensive line?
Well, yeah, sure. We've got 5 offensive line starters that are all 8th graders. A couple of them played a little bit last year. We're going to start at left tackle with Jacoby Allen. Or Jacoby Moore, I'm sorry. Pretty big kid, he's grown a little bit. It's taken him a little bit just to say, hey, it's like we talk about this all the time, the difference in the 7th and an 8th grader.
Sure.
It's unbelievable. And he's kind of turning that switch. We have Bentley Gordon, who had a really good scrimmage and a really good jamboree at our left guard. Carter Sipes, who returned for center for us, and Malachi Ballantyne, we're looking for good things from him. Real physical kid. I just kind of noticed him last year when he was a 7th grader going, he's got potential. Then we have Denari Ray at a right tackle. And Denari, he's just long and lanky, and I doubt he'll play offensive tackle at the high school if he stays with it. But he just gets after it. And then those same 5 guys will play on the defensive line. Coach Adams, we've got those 3 spots, so those 5 people can cover those 3 spots. But we do have a 7th grader, Carson Owens, that we're really excited about. Big kid, physical, so. And like I say, these 5 guys have played, and they know the system a little bit better, and so and we heard some good things the other day. We opened the show with some good things. These kids are sorting things out on their own now as middle school. You're going. One of them took. Hey, I didn't do this. I didn't step correct. I didn't didn't have their correct aiming point, and so that's the things you like to hear from these guys working it out. So,
sure.
And we've got a lot of potential in that 7th grade too coming up. You've got for next year, you've got Clay Hart, you've got Ace Ward, you've got Milo and Miles Clark. You've got a ton of linemen in that group that's going to come along.
Right.
Would like to go in and get these guys some playing time this year. As much as possible. To get them the experience so they're not getting on the field for the first time next year. That's what you want each week, but. With the running clock, that kind of hampers that sometimes too. Coach Chappell, you want to talk about your DBs and receivers?
Sure. We, the first 2 that come to mind, or first 3 rather, are going to be Eli McClure, Paxton McMasters, and Zach Carnes Moore. Zach Moore. Those guys have been working really hard, and they worked hard last year. I mean, I know I had a conversation with one of them. I won't mention which one. One of them last year was just really upset that he didn't get a lot of playing time. And, I could see it on his face. He didn't complain or anything, but I could tell that it upset him. I said, look, dude, you're not coming off field the rest of this year. So, all that playing time that you're worried about last year, you're getting it all back in spades.
Making up for it this year.
Absolutely. You're going to be playing both ways in every special team. And he's been fantastic. And those guys are working really hard. We're in a little better situation to be more multiple offense this year, so they'll be more involved in the offense. All those guys I mentioned play on the defensive side of the ball as well. With the addition of Spellings. He's doing a fantastic job at strong safety. I mean, and all those kids are very smart, football IQ, and I think that goes back to year 2, being around how we do things and what we expect of them, and just, being able to diagnose things on the field. We talk about it all the time with them, like, guys, we're not going to be out there like we are in practice. We're not going to be out there like we're in Jamboree, like we're in scrimmage. Y'all are going to have to work this out. Y'all got to communicate with each other. And y'all are going to figure out what's going on, and make sure everybody's lined up right. So we've got a good group of 8th graders as wide receivers and DBs. Ashton Higgins is working real hard. He's worked his way in where he's into the rotation. Jake Bradley's worked hard, really hard in the off season as well in the weight room. But those are my 8th graders that are going to be contributing. Eli, let me talk about Eli for just a second. He's I call him Swiss Army knife because, he can play every position on the field if we need him to. The only thing we hadn't had him do is snap the football yet. So I think if we needed him to, he could.
Probably could.
Yeah, but he's got a great attitude about it. He just wants to help the team, and I've been really proud of him and how hard he's worked, and he'll hit you too. Same for Rikers. Rikers will, he'll absolutely, he likes it.
Yeah.
He likes it. He's seeking contact.
And that's what, like, on a football field, that's what you want, right? You want a kid who will get in there and go after it and look to do some damage on somebody.
Eli's brother was a former starter for the high school, Noah McClure.
Yep.
You heard his name a lot,
absolutely,
especially on the defensive side.
Said his name a lot on the radio, absolutely.
Pretty good ball player. So
yeah. Sam, I had a question on Facebook. Somebody wants you to talk about your memories of playing against Ty Simpson.
Okay. Well, we
beat him twice.
Right. Sweet. Clean sweep. Played him in baseball and football, both my 7th and 8th grade year. He was, say all you want to about him, he was a great competitor. He has a lot of passion for the game. And, we duked it out on the field, but, it's cool to see an area guy kind of go up through a D1 program like that and him doing it the right way, coming up through the ranks of a program instead of, playing the transfer portal game. And, I was really appreciative of the, competition that we had with each other, but, I'm proud to see his success.
Sure. Talk about that transfer. He is probably right now in NCAA at least the poster child. I don't want to say of putting in the work and doing it, but he very easily could have packed his bags and said, Alabama, I've been here for 2 years. I'll go find somewhere else to go, but stayed there, learned, did the program. It's paid off for him, and we'll see. I wish him nothing but success this year. I hope that he lights it up as much as you can hope Alabama lights it up.
Especially in October. Third Saturday in October.
But yeah, it's good. Like I said, it's always good to see local kids doing well. And so is he? I'm assuming, is that probably going to be the most talented kid you've played against? Because you played Inman, Henry County, and
yes. Luke Brown was also on that Martin team my 8th grade year.
Brian Dameron
was also over there too. So, yeah, I'd say he's probably at the top of my list. Yeah. I'm sure there's some guys from, playing a lot of Clarksville schools, throughout my time, playing beach year in, year out at the high school. I'm sure there's some guys over there, but he's probably the one everybody's heard about.
Sure. Coach Brush, you had mentioned a second ago the difference physically in a 7th and 8th grader. And we see that a lot of times too, that, a lot of these kids really hadn't hit a growth spurt yet, even in 8th grade. And when they get to the high school, they're completely different than what they were at Inman, but mentally as well. How much do y'all see just the mental difference between a 7th grader and an 8th grader? Because the 7th graders coming in, they've played Pop Warner, maybe, hopefully, but really hadn't lined up against, maybe not have lined up against somebody that is physically is equal to them or stronger than them on the other side of the ball.
It's as much of a difference from 7th grade to 8th grade than it is from being a sophomore in high school to a senior.
Yeah.
It is that much of a difference. Maybe even a freshman to a senior. Like, I remember Riker Spellings and Javen Holiday last year, man, they come up to my chin. And I'm not a tall guy by any means. And now, they're growing 4, 5, 6 inches.
And filling out, too.
Right.
Filling out. Javen's gotten big, man. He's gotten really big.
Yeah.
Well, it's just that mental aspect, too, to think that, hey, I've survived. Because we get kids in there that don't even know how to put pads in their pants, their 7th grade years. And then they stick with it and they stay with it and they go, well, I didn't die.
Right.
and so, I can do this.
Yeah.
And so it is. It's just, I think the mental jump. For some kids, it is. Like we were talking to a kid at the high school now, freshman. His 7th grade year, he was playing left tackle, and then we moved him to tailback because he lost so much weight over the summer. But he had that mental side of him too that said, "I'm going to run over you, or I'm going to go tackle you."
Right. It's funny. Do any of them, like when you are working with them, are they surprised by anything? And what I mean by that is, I remember. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but Jalen Foster, for instance, was a very talented tailback that not only in Inman but at the high school. And as a freshman, I remember at Rossview, he got in as a freshman to play against Rossview towards the end of the game. But talking to him after the game, he was like, it was so much faster than I thought it was. Like, those kids were so much faster than anybody I've ever seen. Do y'all ever have kids come to you and are like, Coach, I'm just not used to the speed of this, or this kid's stronger than me? What do I do? How do I fix it and go from there? Or
we don't see a whole lot of that 7th, 8th grade. I'd say Pop Warner to middle school, there's probably not a big change in the speed of the game, especially a lot of them that played for, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. But there is a big difference when you go from middle school and you're going to jump up. Because I remember that game.
Yeah.
Jalen come back to the sideline and said, Coach, the hole closed before I got there. Like, yeah, dude, you can't tiptoe. You got to trust it and hit it.
Well, but Barry, the other aspect of that is, I think that when just at with our small numbers, and we've got quite a few, you're not able to scrimmage or practice best on best a lot of times.
Sure.
And so when we play another team, they go, oh, well, that kid's faster than what I'm used to in practicing against. So we have to really try to coach them up to be sure that you're giving your best in practice, and sometimes it takes them a couple games to go, it's a little different than practice. Yeah.
We're undefeated against our B team.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that they understand during practice, like, look, you have to, the techniques and the positioning that we're teaching you, you have to overemphasize it in practice. Right. Because this guy that's across from you right now, the guy that you're going to see tomorrow night, he's going to be a lot better. Mm-hmm. So you really have to overemphasize with your steps and everything, what we're telling you. And they start to pick it up, and they trust us, so sure. it starts to get better. But
did that surprise y'all moving from the high school level to the middle school level, that just the difference in the kids and their expectations? And
it took me about 3 years to adjust from high school to middle school.
Yeah,
it took me about 3 years.
This is all I've ever done. I've never coached high school, so middle school.
You're just the old pro at working with the middle school. Yeah. So, Coach Baker, how about you?
Going from college to high school was a big step. And then, when I was at the high school, I remember myself making this statement several times. I don't see how people coach the freshmen. They drive me nuts. And now I'm sitting here coaching middle schoolers.
Yeah.
But, you said 3 years. I took 3 years off.
Right.
And, that might have been what it took.
Maybe. Well, guys, before we finish up here, let's just go around and talk about, but we kind of talk about the expectation for the seasons, but so all of y'all have years and years and years of coaching. Even Sam, being the youngest guy at the table, has been on year 3, but has been in football your whole life, just about. It's what gets you up every morning to go to Inman and work with these kids and make it Bulldog football?
I like to win.
It's a good feeling, right?
I I don't know if I like to win as much as I hate to lose.
Okay.
It's embarrassing to me. We had that Union City game last year, and we got beat, and it was hard to swallow. Anytime we have a loss, I think we're capable of winning every ball game when we step on the field. And we was like that at high school. That's the mindset I've always had. And there's been a few teams like when we played NBA last year. We got the scoreboard looked like we got boat raced on it. But when you have 4 special teams turnovers and they return 3 of them for touchdowns,
sure.
There's your difference. They beat us by 21 points and had 3 special teams turnovers.
Right.
So you got to take care of business, and that's my deal, is go out and get better at something every day at practice. That's what I tell the kids, something. Figure something out, whether it's just, your reach step on outside zone, your power step on your power or your counter, your down block, whatever, just get better at something. And, I guess what gets me up is I know I got to get up there and get all them darn clothes washed for the
You need to just get you an assistant or some student manager or something that just would love to do that. And
that would be
save
great.
you some time there.
That would be good.
Sam, how about you?
Really what gets me to come to work every day is just the relationships that, we get to build with these kids. And, we only get them for, 2 or 3 years. And, I've got kids up at the high school now since I've been coaching for the past 3 years. And, having guys come back up to me and, ask me how I'm doing.
Sure.
And, getting to see them grow, when they leave us. And just getting to be a part of these kids' lives is really a big deal for me. And, just proud to be a positive figure in their life and just be the person that I would need when I was, 13, 14
Sure.
years old. That's really what gets me up in the morning.
Gotcha. Coach Baker, how long have you coached overall?
Probably about 22, 23 years. I coached 3 years in college where I played at, and then come to the high school ranks and coached every year except for the last 3.
Okay.
When I was a principal,
Right.
and I was still involved. Coach
Right.
Counts and Coach Anderson and all them wanted me up in the box.
Yep.
More than happy to help out and stuff like that. So.
Very nice. How long, Brad, have you been coaching?
28 years in some sort of athletics
yeah.
and education.
Okay.
So this is my 28th year.
So talk about
The big thing for me, I enjoy seeing them develop. We talked about all these, we call them Rudy Toots 7th graders, that when we get them, and to watch them develop into young men, not just the physical side, but the mental maturity as
Sure.
well, where they, they're not messing around in the locker room. They learn what we expect of them. They're acting like young men, and they're acting like football players and people, and what I like to see too is, these are we talked about sending people to Henry County. We want you to understand that you're not just representing yourself, especially when you're wearing our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're representing your school, you're representing your community, and to see them buy into that kind of stuff and develop and be able to watch them as they further their career is really rewarding.
sidetrack real quick before we get to Joey. My question: McKenzie Rebels looked really good the other night. I didn't know how they were going to look this season coming off of losing what they lost, but they took it to McCracken County in Kentucky, which is a 6A football, good squad, and McKenzie just let them have it on Friday night.
I heard. I didn't see
Okay.
the game,
I didn't
but
know if you got to see it or not,
I did not.
well.
But I was in. I guess I was in Chattanooga moving my youngest son into college.
All right.
But I did hear that they put on a pretty good performance.
Yeah, they did. Joey?
But this will be my 29th year. I think next year will be our 30th football season at Inman.
You got anything special planned for that? Like a 30th season?
I don't know that you even knew that.
This is going to come out of a cake.
Right.
No, but I spent 23 years in the classroom, and now that I've moved up in administration, I don't have an everyday relationship with classroom kids, and that's one of the things I always prided myself on, is relationships. And like Sam's already mentioned, the fact that this is my opportunity to have a relationship with kids and to see them develop. And you get to the high school and you hear the coaches after a Friday night game talk, and you get to see kids that hopefully you've had an impact on.
Sure.
And I got the opportunity as well to be head coach of the basketball team at Inman for 10 years, and just that whole experience of, hopefully you're helping them develop and become responsible citizens and taxpayers and
Sure.
Just good dads.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that excites me.
Y'all are all doing a great job. I appreciate you coming by the studio for this week. I really hate that it's just the one home game. I know y'all hate it too. I just, I sit out there on my hill in the backyard and watch y'all every week, and I hate that there's only going to be 1 week of that. But you're going to take care of business, and then we'll have those 3 home games for the playoffs. And do want to encourage folks to come out and support these kids. I'm telling you, for a middle school program, I don't mean this ugly when I say for a middle school program. I mean, it's elite football. These guys are good. Y'all know what y'all are doing. Y'all get them ready. And Inman middle school football is, as I said earlier, a powerhouse when it comes to football in not only West Tennessee, but I'd put them up against anybody in the state. And I know y'all would too. And so do want to encourage the folks to come out and support these kids on the 26th, I believe, when your home game is, when you take on Jackson. So, guys, thank y'all for coming by. Good luck this season. We look forward to what the Bulldogs are going to do. Do want to remind you, again, Mike Weatherford has a special show in the morning at 10:30 with David Kustoff. Be sure to tune into the Mike Weatherford Show Facebook page for that. And then next week, we'll be back live here at the studio with Dr. Kyle Stevens and Bart Crossman to talk about Able Farms and the work that they do out there, as well as their playing days. Again, thank you to our sponsors for bringing you SportsCast this week. Thanks to Taters, All-Star Fence, Patriot Plumbing, Shelter Insurance, Eaton Construction, Tennessee Real Estate. Thank you to Kevin Keel and Scott Norwood in the back for keeping us on the air. And to Mike for letting us use the studio every week. We appreciate it. We'll see y'all next week. As always, be good to yourselves and each other. Talk to you all in a week.